You ever walk into a room and just know, deep in your bones, that today's the day everything changes, not just for you, but for every single person watching? I remember the sound of boots on tile, the taste of old coffee in the air, the kind of morning where the sun can't quite burn through yesterday's grime, and then crack a moment so raw it split open the safe little shell we called routine. That was the day I saw Officer Green shove a man against a bench, hands shaking but jaw set like he was starring in his own personal movie. Right before he spat, "Where'd you crawl out from?" Yeah, that happened. And from the first second, you could feel it, the energy shifting like the building itself was bracing for something it couldn't name. Marcus Reed didn't plead, didn't flinch, just lifted his hands, palms out, calm as a midnight lake, as if he'd practiced for this exact script all his life. I swear, that quiet one that fell over the room wasn't fear. It was something colder. It was the sound of everyone realizing the story they thought they were in might not in the way they planned. Green's partner, Diaz, flashed a look that said all you needed to know about how things really worked. Wrong color, wrong attitude, you know what I mean? It was the kind of moment that forces everyone, from judge to janitor, to pick a side, even if all you do is keep your mouth shut. The judge, old as courthouse dust and twice as tired, wrapped his gavel and squinted over glasses he probably wore to see through people, not paper. "Your name?" he said, and Green's voice echoed. Reed just sat there, locked into some private horizon, not a single muscle moving, until Green, almost desperate now, repeated himself. That's when Reed reached in his jacket, real slow, and I swear, every cop in the gallery tensed up expecting a wallet, a threat, something to justify what was already happening. But what came out wasn't a license or a plea for mercy. It was a badge silver, shining, and official enough to punch a hole through the courthouse floor. Jonathan Pierce, Director of National Investigations. Silence, absolute and final, like the world itself hit pause. Twist number one, who wasn't just another guy in cuffs. He was the top cop. You could see Green's face drain like he'd swallowed a mouthful of battery acid. The whole room collapsed in on itself, shame running through the benches like a cold draft. You could hear the questions start, "What have we done? Who are we really?" when no one's watching but us. Green tried to recover, mumbling about officer safety, but nobody was buying it. The judge, maybe for the first time in years, looked scared of his own voice. And when the courtroom video rolled, glitchy night vision showing Marcus Jonathan just standing there, hands open, before Green slammed him down, there was nowhere left to hide. A corrupted frame, a system error, yeah, you could call it that, but everyone knew the real glitch was in their own assumptions, their own willingness to let power go unchecked. Let me back up a sec, because here's where things got ugly. When the judge called for a break, the gallery didn't sit quietly. Laughter started first, a clerk live streaming on her phone, then a ripple through the staff, even a father with his kid in tow, the little girl asking, "Daddy, why does he look so mad?" And an officer shooting back, "He's not mad. He's just broke." The kind of laughter that sticks to your ribs, makes you taste shame days later. Every cackle a nail in the coffin of dignity. Every joke a smokescreen for fear. But Marcus didn't move, didn't blink. Just sat there, still, until the laughter dried up and the room had to sit with itself. That's when he, in turn just a kid with a notepad, froze mid-scribble and looked up like she finally saw the point. "What are we doing?" her eyes said, and no one answered. Green tried again, blurted out safety like a lifeline, but the word rang hollow. Marcus lifted his badge, and in that moment, every old rule, every silent agreement about who gets to speak and who just gets spoken to fell away. Then came the digital storm. You know how these things got phones out, clips looped on TikTok, memes with rap beats under a silent walk, hashtags like Statue Man and Silent Thug. Every frame replayed as proof or mockery, depending on what you needed to believe. News anchors turned the moment into a 2-minute breakdown, asking, hero or menace, as if the only thing that mattered was whose side you'd pick in the comments. But underneath the noise, some folks started asking harder questions. A college kid typed, "Maybe he's holding us accountable instead," and the comment vanished quick, but not before it made a dent. A podcaster admitted, I was ready to laugh, but now I'm not sure I know who the joke's on. Even Green, scrolling his own feed, caught a glimpse of himself in the reflection and didn't like what he saw. That was the crack in the dam. Precinct meetings spun up, audits announced, officers called in to review stop records. Data analysts pulled charts showing how often gut feelings led to stops with no cause, and suddenly, everybody wanted to know if you didn't know. Why didn't you try to know? Lieutenant Barrett, the kind of cop who never backed down, started her own review, ordering every officer, including herself, to have their stops audited. No more silent assumptions, she said, and you could hear the weight of it in her voice. Out in the city, things changed in smaller ways, too. A barista started asking how to spell every customer's name, just to make sure she got it right. At a bakery, two brothers started selling tiny gray fedoras quiet caps. As reminders of the day, one man's silence became a protest. Bus drivers asked riders about their day. Teachers put new questions on the board. If you follow every rule but still hurt someone, are you doing the right thing? Kids thought about it. Adults did too. But the story didn't end there. Internal affairs ramped up. Officers who'd once laughed at Marcus now looked over their shoulders. At City Hall, mayors and policy aides found their budgets frozen, every purchase subject to federal review. Because appearances and gut instinct aren't enough, said one analyst. They never were. And Green, once so sure of himself, stood in front of his captain and admitted, I want to understand. I don't want to be the problem. It wasn't redemption, not yet, but it was a start. When Marcus Jonathan walked into a closed-door meeting at the Federal Liaison Office, the air thickened. He didn't say much, just presented his credentials, let the silence do the talking. You didn't know, he said, and now you know. No triumph, no gloating. Just the weight of truth, steady and undeniable. Weeks later, classrooms shifted their lesson plans. Cafes sold out of quiet caps. Town halls debated what real justice looked like. And in precincts across the country, the question echoed. If rules alone don't protect dignity, how will you speak up when you see someone treated unfairly? One last scene, because stories don't really end, do they? Months later, in a government symposium hall, Jonathan Pierce sat at the back, silent as ever. And when the time came, he stood at the mic and said only, I came to see the system reflect. 7 words, that's all. No grand speech, no call for applause. The room just sat with it, every face a mirror, every heartbeat a drum of possibility. So here's my question for you after all that. Who are we when the laughter stops? When the system is forced to see itself, when every badge, every rule, every routine gets held up to the light, though, we pause long enough to change, or do we just wait for the next headline to roll by? Share your take. Down in the comments, though, you think real justice starts with rules or with the courage to see ourselves clear? Because the truth is, the story's not over. It's just begun.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video.
Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to.
Yeah, they're...